So we are starting with our first game, and this game will be a balloon game. So it's about balloons rising up and moving from the bottom to the top. So I can show it here with the mouse dragging. They should move, or this one balloon first should move from here to the top, and then it should disappear, and the player has to click on it to make it pop, something like that, and then he should get points, or she should get points for it. So there should be also multiple balloons then in the end, and the more balloons you can pop, the more points you get. So this is our challenge here. So we have to move this balloon from the bottom. I can place it maybe around here to the top in a steady motion, I would say. So this is our first challenge, and we can do this, we can achieve this by using a code snippet or script, so to say, a program. So we need to program here. So this is our first program that we need to write, and this is the starting position of our balloon here. So if you want to follow along, then just place the balloon somewhere here maybe, and then this should be okay. And then how can we start our code? How can we start our script? Most of the times you want to start it with an event. So in this case, it is the start event. So whenever the player clicks on start, on go here on the flag, we will get this event. And what does that mean? So whenever the flag is clicked, the code that is underneath this here is executed. So I have dragged this when go clicked from events. So go to the events category, and then the very first block here is this when go clicked green flag, and this is like run the game. And this means that every time that the game started, that go is clicked, that the code underneath here will be executed. So this is what we do now. We add here another block. So this is how you code in Scratch. So you add these blocks here. So maybe we can go to motion here, for example, and then we can say go to random position, for example, just to show it. So whenever this go button is clicked, then go to random position. What does that mean? The balloon will go to a random position. So let's see how that looks like. So we click on go, and we see this balloon is placed to a random position here. So we can do it again, and each time it is a different position, a random position. So this is not what we want, of course, because we want a motion from the bottom to the top, and this is not how you do it, but just to show you how coding here is done. So we need to stack these blocks here. So after that, we can maybe do the same. So for example, we can do this twice. So this won't make any difference because this will go to a random position, but you won't see it because directly after that, it will go to a different random position. So that's not very good, or it doesn't make any sense. So what do? We can make a delay here in between. So let's go to control, and then we see the first block here under control is wait. So that's what we want. Control wait, and then I drag this here over here. So you see this snapping here. This will snap here, and it's a little bit gray, so that you see that this, if you drop it, will end on this position here beneath the go to random position. And then this will be placed beneath the wait 1 second. And if you want to disassemble this, you can just drag it away, and then all the blocks that are beneath that here, the first that you clicked, will be moving, and then you can drag it here, and then it won't be executed anymore because there's no connection to this event here. So if I just start the game, there's no code executed because here's nothing beneath. So I need to connect this to this when go clicked again. And now we can see that first the balloon goes to a random position and then waits for 1 second and then goes to a different position. So this is not what we want either. We want a continuous motion. So let's get rid of that here. How to get rid of it, how to delete. You can right click on it and then you can delete block. So that will delete only the one block you clicked on. And then you can delete every block here. but more convenient is to just drag this here to the side. So, and then drop it here, and then it's gone also. And you move around this canvas here, your code area, by dragging here. So you can see, you can also use the mouse wheel, of course, or you can drag and then you can reach different positions here. And you can also zoom in and zoom out with these buttons here, with the magnifying glasses here. And this will reset the position and the zoom here, this button. Okay, so this is how you navigate here in the code area. So let's put that over here. And what do we do to move this thing here? What we can do is, so let's place it here again. So maybe here. What we have to do first, we need to position the balloon again at this position, because this is the starting position, but when the program moves the balloon, it will maybe end up here, and then it will just stay there. So we need to reset it each time that go is clicked. So we need to set the starting position. And how do you do that? Just drag it where you want it. So maybe, for example, here. And then we have the X and the Y here. And that's what we can use now. So let's go to motion. And then you have this go to X, go to Y. And this is what we use here. We go to X, go to Y, and use these two coordinates here. And conveniently, these are already here filled out, so we don't need to change anything. So just drag this block here to when go clicked, and everything will be set to this location here. So I can change it now to maybe here, and then when I click go, it will be reset to this starting position. So that's good. That's what we need also. And now we have to move the balloon to the top. And that's what we do in the next video. But for here, on the motion, these blocks are all for moving your sprite or rotating your sprite. So for example, here you have set rotation style. So you can switch from left to right to maybe don't rotate or all around. So in an angle, this will be more like mirroring. So like this here, this will be mirroring or flipping. This will be rotation, and this will be no rotation. So, and the same thing here, you can set this style also here. So that's the same as here. So this is just an example, and you can also use something like set Y to a position or set X to a position, or you can set both in one block. Also, you can glide to a random position. We can try this maybe. So just set it to the starting position, and then afterwards we just glide maybe like 4 seconds to a random position or to the mouse pointer. We can also do that. So let's try this. This is actually not what we want, but anyway, let's try it and see how this looks like. So in 4 seconds, this balloon will go to a random position. So each time I start here, it will go to a different position, but it always takes 4 seconds to go there. Okay, so that's quite nice. We could maybe use it, and then the user has to click it to get the points, but I don't know, maybe it's not that interesting to do the game like that, but we could use this. But this will be quite easy. Anyway, we have to hide the balloon when it reaches the random position here. Otherwise, it would be too easy for the player to click it. So we can just maybe hide it after 4 seconds, or maybe we do 2 seconds and then it will be faster. So here, this will be faster, but it also depends on the position itself, of course. If the position is not very far away from the starting position, it will be slow. If it's very far from the starting position, then it is fast. So this will be easy to click, and it's a little bit harder like this, or maybe like this. And we can also reduce it to 1 second, or we can also use decimal numbers like 1.5, for example. So that's a little bit faster because it was a long way to go for the balloon. Another long way, and this is a short way. Okay, let's hide the balloon when it reaches the random position here. How do we do that? This is under the category looks. So let's go to looks, and here at the end, almost at the end, you have show and hide. This is what we need. So just drag the hide to this position here after the glide, and then when it reaches this here, this random position, it should hide. Okay, so let's try that. And now it disappears. Let's do it again. Okay, so you see nothing. It is gone. It is hidden. And why is that? Because we have hidden it. So with this hide, you will hide it and it won't reset to show. But we can do that. Just move show or drag show here to the beginning. So when go is clicked, then show the balloon, then go to the starting position and then glide to these random positions here and then hide the balloon. So let's try this. So it's shown, it goes to the starting position and then glides to the random position and then it is hidden. And then every time I click on go, it will be shown again and this will be executed here. So of course the code is always executed from top to bottom. So this is the starting event when go is clicked. Then there is show, go to X and Y, starting position, then glide in this amount of time to a random position and then hide. So that's okay. We could use this as a starting point for our game. Probably we won't keep it like that, but it's kind of a start. So then we need to, of course, make it happen that the player can click the balloon and then it gets popped and then the player gets points for it. So we are continuing with our game, and in the last video we had our balloon here going from this first position to a random position, and we've made this little script here. And this is our first program, our first script. So whenever the start button is clicked, we show this balloon, then we go to this starting position of the balloon. So this is minus 207 and for X and minus 253 for Y. And then from there we glide to a random position. So this time it will always be a different position each time we run the game. And the time it takes to glide to this position is 1.5 seconds here. And then when it reaches the position, then we hide the balloon. Okay, so I want to now exchange this here, so the glide to random position, with a similar block. And this is this one. I've already prepared this. So this is glide in amount of seconds to X and Y. So there is a predefined position here that we can glide to, and it won't be the random position, because the problem with the random position is it is sometimes harder and sometimes easier to hit the balloon or to click the balloon, because that's what the game is about, clicking the balloon or clicking all the balloons that you can until they are all gone. And this is the problem with random position. They are not going upwards, but in maybe this direction or whatever. So it is not clear where the balloons go with the random position. So we exchange it for a fixed position. So this is the block for the fixed position, and I'm dragging this hide here away and the glide also. And we can get rid of this glide block by just dragging it over here and it will disappear. So this block is deleted. Now we can take this block, put it here so that it snaps there, and then put back the hide block again so that we have it like this. So let's start the game and see what it looks like. You see, it's always the same motion here. Each time I start the game, the balloon will always go up in 2 seconds to this position over here. And it's always the same. So this is much better because the balloon will go only upwards, but it's also easier because you already know where the balloon is going from and where it is going to. So this is quite easy to play this game. But we will be having more balloons, not just one balloon, so this will get a little bit more difficult to hit all the balloons. So maybe this is already okay and already a fun game, but we need something that is more random here. So let's say it is not the target position of the balloon, but it may also be the starting position. So the starting position, the X position here, could be random, and the balloon would then start maybe one time from here, one time from here. So that would depend on the position that is randomly chosen then. So how do we do that? We need a random number for the X coordinate. So let's check how this is done. We go to operators here, and there we have it already. Pick random, so a random number between, and then you can set between which two numbers the random number should be picked from. So let's drag this here onto our canvas, our script canvas, and then we can place it somewhere here in this block. So we can place it here to go to X and then this field here. So let's try it. We drag it over here and then let go. And now we have it in our X coordinate. So the X coordinate will be between 1 and 10. This is not very good. So let's maybe say minus 210, 2 plus 210. That will be the range. So let's try this. Let's start it. And then we have a random starting position. So this is nice. Sometimes it starts from here, from the X over here, or maybe over there. So the player never knows from where the balloon is starting. So that's better. But also the target position is always the same. And that's a problem here because we always know that the balloon will go over here. So this is the target position, so we can place our mouse cursor here, and then we would be able to click just here when it comes to this position here. So that's not so nice. So we need to set the target X, this here, to the same value as this here. So we could use a variable for that and first assign this random number to a variable and then use this variable on these two places. First here in this block, go to X and then variable, and then glide in 2 seconds to X and then the variable. But we won't do this because this is a little bit advanced and I will explain variables in a later chapter. So here we do something else. There is a block, another block here under motion, and this is this block here, X position, and you can drag this X position here to anywhere you like in these rounded fields. So for example here in this X field, so glide in 2 seconds to X and then X position. What is X position? X position is the X position of the sprite at this point in time when it gets to this block here. So this will always be updated if the balloon moves or changes its X position, then this will always be the current X position. And you can also display it by just clicking here on this checkbox. So just checking this here will display it here, and then we can always see the current value of the balloon's X position. Okay, so what do we have now? We go to a random X position here and a fixed Y position. So the Y position will be minus 253 and the X position will be random. So that means that the balloon starts somewhere between here and here, and then it will go to this Y position minus 253 and then keeping the X position. So we set the X position here with this random number, and then this X position will be the same. It stays the same. So it's not changed later. It will always be this here. So by this, we are setting the X position to a random number, and then this will be in this block here, in this X position block. So the balloon will always go up. And here we can also see, you can also drag this to anywhere you like here. We can also see that this X will always be the same, but it will be randomly set at the start of the game. So this time it was minus 166, and the next time it's minus 107, and the next time it's minus 69. But here we are gliding to the same X position that we went here randomly. Okay, I think this is clear, should be clear. So this X is just keeping the X position, and the Y is then the target position of 200 here. And this way, this is kind of the game I had in mind at the start. So we have one balloon starting from a random X position going straight up, and then the user or the player has to click on it. So we can also go into full screen and see what that looks like. So starting the game, and then the user needs to click on it, and then it should disappear, and the user gets points for it. So we at the moment have only one balloon, not very interesting, but if we have, let's say, 5 balloons, it will be quite difficult to click on all the balloons before they reach the target here. Okay, so that's it for our improvement of the balloon motion. And I think we can keep it like that, and we can just make more balloons, and then the motion logic here will be, of course, the same. But before we do that, we need to implement the click logic so that when the player clicks on the balloon, then it will disappear, and then the user gets points, for example. Okay, so let's do this in the next video. So now that we have the balloon's motion in place, I can show it again here. So the balloon goes from a random X position, horizontal position, straight upwards, and then it vanishes, disappears here out of bounds. Okay, so now that we have this, the one important thing that is missing is, of course, that the player needs to click on the balloon, and the balloon will then disappear and the player gets points. Okay, so that's quite easy. And we only need 2 blocks for the click and then the hiding of the balloon. And we can find the first block here in events, because the clicking of the balloon of this sprite here is an event. So we have this when flag when go is clicked already here, but there underneath is when this sprite clicked. And here we also have when space key pressed. So this is for keyboard events, but this here is for the click event. So we drag this into our canvas here, and then we have this event. So when this sprite is clicked, then do the following. And what needs to be done here? We need to hide the sprite here. So this is very easy. We already had this. So we have show here and then hide at the end. So we go to looks again, and then we have hide here. So just drag the hide to this position here, and we can try it. So let's go. And then we click it. Oh, I've missed it here, but now I've managed to click it, and you see that the balloon disappears here, is hidden. Okay, let's do it again. So this time I was better prepared. So it's not very difficult to hit the balloon, but if you have, let's say, 5 balloons here, all in random positions, then maybe it's a little bit more difficult. So this is quite easy. We can also use the full screen, and then so we can test it under real gaming conditions. So that's quite easy with one balloon. We can also use, of course, a higher velocity, a higher speed. How do we do that? We just change the time here, the time span glide, 2 seconds to X. So we can just make it a little bit less than 2 seconds, so 1.5 seconds, and then the speed should be faster. And we can also use one. Let's try 1 second, and then it will be quite fast, and then it will be also very difficult to hit it. So let's see. Okay, I've managed to do it. No, this one I missed. Hit again. Let's do it again. Yeah. Okay, so that is quite difficult, and maybe it's too difficult, but let's just leave it like this. And now we have the basic game mechanics in place. So the balloon starts to rise, and then we can click it, and then will disappear. So we might want to add later an animation so that the balloon pops, but at the moment it is just hidden here with this block. So each time when the sprite is clicked, then the balloon is hidden. And now what we need to do is, of course, the player needs to get points for this, so that at the end, when all the balloons are gone, the player can see how much points he or she got. Okay, so this we'll do in the next video, because it's not quite that easy. We need to use variables for that. And I've already mentioned variables, but this is quite an important concept. So this will be in an extra video, and then we can also count the points and then display the score. So now that we have hidden our balloon, when the player clicks on it, we need to count the score. But first I will introduce another feature here. So we have to play a little bit of sound here when the balloon pops. Then we need to play a pop sound, of course. So the sounds you have here under the category sounds, of course, just drag this block here underneath height. So after height, we need to play a sound here. So this is the electric guitar. This is not the right sound, so we need to change it to pop. And then you can hear this will play a nice pop sound. So when the player clicks on the balloon, this sound will be played. So let's try it. Working. Nice. Okay, so that's it for the sound for now. So let's get into variables and counting the score here. So what are variables and why do we need them here? Oh, at least we need one variable here, and we need it to count the score. So each time the player hits the balloon, pops the balloon, then there should be a, let's say, 10 points should be added to the score, and the score should be displayed somewhere. So we already have a kind of a variable here, and it's already displayed here. So this is the X position of the balloon. We have it here. And how did we get it? It's here under motion, so category motion, and then we have this checkbox that will display it. And we can also display the Y position and also the direction. But let's just hide all of these and we get back to our variables. So these are also kind of variables, but we cannot set the variables. We cannot change the value of these variables here directly. So this is internal to the game system here, but it's similar to a variable because this here stands for a value, and a value that can change. So we can use this everywhere where these rounded fields are. We can just drop it there, and this is kind of a placeholder for a value. So this minus 210, for example, is a value, but this is a fixed value, so we know what the value is, minus 210. But here, this is not obvious which position this will be, is only clear at runtime, or is only defined at runtime. So at the moment, the X position will be determined at the moment. We can also display it here, but if we run the game, then this will change. So variable, also, of course, the name stands for variable value. So it can change, and it has to change to make it really useful. So a variable is kind of a placeholder for a value that will change. That is variable. Okay, so let's make our own variable, and we need to name it somehow. So we make a new variable called score. So make a variable is the button here. So go to variables here, the category variables, and we already have one here. It's just predefined. We can also delete this variable because we don't need it. So right click on this predefined variable and delete the my variable variable. Okay, so let's make a new one, make variable. And then we can choose a name. So we choose the name score. We can also write it like this. And then you can also decide if this variable is for all the sprites or only for this sprite. I would say since we have more than one sprite, we should define the score variable here for all sprites. So what does that mean? The value of score will be available to all sprites, not only to this sprite. That's what we want. Not only for this sprite because we want to show it, maybe we want to use it in a different sprite, maybe in a script for a different sprite. So let's define it for all sprites. Click on OK, and now we have this variable here under variables, and it looks kind of similar to this motion X position here, or Y position. It's also rounded here, rounded rectangle with rounded corners. This is blue, but this is orange, so this is our own variable. So we can use this variable anywhere we like in these rounded fields. For example, here, here, here. You can see that we can drop it everywhere here. Okay, so this checkbox is also here. So you can show the value, the current value of this variable also by clicking here, and then it will appear in the game. Let's get rid of this balloon X position. So just remove the checkbox here. We don't need that anymore. But the score we should display, so keep the checkbox checked here. So now we have the score displayed here, but it's 0. This is the default value, the initial value. And if we click on the balloon, we hear the sound, but of course the score stays the same. So now that we have our variable, we can use it. We can change the value at runtime. And this is what these blocks are for. This is one of the blocks, set score, in this case to 0, or change score by 1. With these two blocks, you can change the value of the variable. What do we need? Which one of these blocks do we need now? Well, we need the second one, because the first one will set the score to a fixed value, but we need to increase the value of score by a certain amount. So let's use this block, drag it here. So right underneath, let's say after hide, just drop it here, change score by 1. So let's see what this does. And to make it a little bit easier for me, I will change or increase this time here. So to maybe, let's say 5 seconds. And that would be very easy then, because the balloon is very slow. So let's pop it, and you see we have 2. Okay, so why do we have 2? Because every time I click here on this, this will increase, and I just clicked it once, and then I started the game and popped the balloon, so we have 2. But of course we need to reset the score at the start of the game. So that's what we need to do, and for this we need to use the first block here. So set score to 0, which is already okay, so just set it here just after when go is clicked, drop it here, and then the score will be set to 0 here. So each time we start the game, we start with a score of 0, of course. And then we pop the balloon, and we have 1. So since we only have 1 balloon, I cannot get more than a score of 1 at the moment. But anyway, this nicely works here. So I pop the balloon, I get a score of 1. So if we had 2 balloons, then the player would be able to get a score of 2. This is how you use variables. You can change the variable by a certain value. In this case, 1. I can also use maybe 10. So when I pop the balloon, I will get 10 points. Not much of a difference, but maybe there are bigger balloons which only gets the player 5 points. So you can use 10 and then 5 for the bigger ones, because they're easier to hit. That's it for variables. It's not everything that you need to know about variables, but how to use them. So you can set them here to a certain value. You can also set it to a random value. So for example, you can maybe go here, pick random between 1 and 10. So just drop it here, and then the score will be set to a random number. Not very useful in this case, but to show the point, this will now be 5. And another time will be 10, another time will be 6. If I pop it, the balloon, it will be increased by 10 here. So we can set it to a fixed value or to this random value here also, and we can increase it by a certain amount. Or we can also increase it by a random amount. So you can put this pick random here also in this change by field. So let's try this, pop it, and we get 4 points. And then we get 3 points. And the next time we get 9 points. Not very useful here, but anyway, this is possible. But let's get rid of that and use 10 here. So each time we pop the balloon, the player pops the balloon, then he or she gets 10 points here. Our game is working with one balloon. It's not that interesting, not that difficult also, but it's working. And we have also the score. But we need more balloons. And how do we do that? It's quite easy. We just need to duplicate our first balloon. So right click on the sprite here in the list. So balloon 1, right click, duplicate, and we have a second balloon here. Let's try what happens if we run the game. We have 2 balloons. And we can hop both of them. And we will always get 20 points as a score, of course, because we always pop the 2 balloons. So this is quite nice because we just duplicated this balloon and it all works. So there was no need to change anything here in the script, but we can maybe change the color of the balloon. So let's go into balloon 2, select it here, and then let's go into costumes. Then we have this blue balloon, the same as the first one. So we need to change it here. So let's go to this little button here, and then it expands with this list. So we can upload a new costume. We can get a random one, or we can paint it, or we can choose a costume. So that's what we do. Let's choose a costume, and then we search here for balloon. There we have the balloons. So we already have the blue balloon. Let's use a yellow balloon here. And there we have the yellow balloon. And we can get rid of the first one here, of the first costume here in the list, because we only need this yellow balloon here. So that's it. Now we have 2 balloons, one blue, one yellow. And let's start the game so that it looks nicer with 2 colors here. Okay, we can make more of these, of course. We can also make it more difficult. Problem is that we now need to change 2 of these sprites here, because each sprite has its own script here. So we need to change both scripts. So for example, 5 seconds here is a little bit too much. So we set it to 2, but now we need to change both scripts, because if I just change the one for the yellow balloon, then we have only changed it for the yellow balloon, of course, not for the blue one. So let's change to the blue one and also set it to 2 here. Now it's set for both. In both scripts, in both codes, we have the same amount of time or the same velocity here. So this gets more difficult now, but it's still doable. But if we had a third balloon, then it would really be difficult to do that. Okay, we have 2 balloons now, but we have the problem that we need to change the script of each balloon here, of each sprite, to make changes like the speed here, or maybe if we want to change the sound here to a different one that we uploaded maybe. We can also record a sound here. Then we need to do that here twice. That's a problem. At the moment, the solution would be to prepare one sprite here and prepare one script. And if you're really sure that this is the final script, then duplicate the sprite. So let's say we have the final script here. No need to change anything here. Then we can duplicate it. Let's say 4 times. Now let's start the game. So we have 3 yellow balloons and 1 blue balloon here, but we can also change, of course, here the costume of the third one. So let's go into costumes, choose a costume, search for balloon. There we have it. Take this purple one, erase the first one here, and here, well, let's do the same. Search for balloon. But we only have these 3 colors here. That's a problem maybe. So let's go back and change the color here. So select the balloon or the main part of the balloon. And then we go to fill and change it a little bit. Let's put it more to the red. Now we have a more reddish color here. And you can also change this one. So for example, also make it a little bit more red. So like this. Yeah, that's okay. So you can also, of course, change the costume here, or you can load a different one as you like. Okay, now we have 4 balloons here. And let's see if we can pop all. No, not successful. Let's go into full screen mode. Yeah, 40 is the maximum score we can reach here in this game. And this is quite nice. But if the balloons are further apart, maybe then it's not possible to pop them all. Oh, I've managed to do it. Missed one. Yeah, now I've got all the balloons. Okay, so I would say that's it for our first game. But there's one more thing I can do to configure here the number of seconds each balloon has to reach the destination. We can use also variables, of course. So let's make a new variable here. Make a variable here under the category variables. Let's make a new one. And also for all sprites, because we want to use it in all sprites. So we call it speed, just call it speed. It's not accurate because it's the number of seconds, but anyway, let's call it speed. And the lower the value, the higher the speed. But anyway, I think that's okay. We don't need to display it here, so we can remove the checkbox and then it is gone. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to replace this 2 here, glide 2 seconds to X and Y. We need to replace it with a variable. So the speed variable here. So let's drag this over to this here and then drop it, and we have glide speed seconds to this position. So we need to set, of course, the variable here, the variable value to, let's say, 1.5. And we can do this here when go clicked. So here we drag this set variable to value, and then we choose speed. Here in the value field, just enter 1.5. That's it. So this sprite here has now this 1.5, this one. So let's check this. So 1 is faster, you see. And this we need to do for all the balloons here. So now we need to just put the speed variable here into this glide. So that's easy. Just go to the purple balloon and then drag the speed variable here to glide. And then for the yellow balloon, the same. And for the blue balloon also. So then every balloon has the same speed here. Let's try it. Okay, so now it gets really difficult to pop all the balloons. So let's try it. Just 1. Also 1. Oh, 3. Okay, so that's high score. No. 3 is my high score here. So it's kind of almost impossible to do all 4. Anyway, now we can use this variable here. And we also need to set the value of the variable here in the first or in the fourth sprite here in balloon 4. We can really use this set speed to 1.5 anywhere here, but we just need to do it in one sprite. So let's leave it here, and we don't need to set the score to 0 in each sprite, so we can also get rid of this maybe. Just remove it here and remove it here. You can also leave it there. It's not that important, but it's not necessary to set it in each sprite here, in each script. So we only need to set it here in one sprite. And the same for the speed. Speed and score are set in the last sprite here in the red sprite. And then every other sprite can use these values. Let's try it. Working. So we used variables here in 2 places. One, the first place was this score that was increased by 10 every time the player hits a balloon, pops a balloon. And the second place was here in glide and the amount of seconds that is used to get to the target position. So to speak, the speed of the balloon. that's it for this part. And now we can also improve on the game a little bit. For example, we can use a random delay for each balloon so that not all balloons are moving at the same time. So we do this in the next video. So let's make the game a little bit more interesting by delaying each movement, each balloon movement by a random time. That's what we do, and this is quite easy because we have this block here under control. So go to category control and then the first block, wait number seconds. So this here can be a fixed number, for example, 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever. We can try this first. So let's do this on the balloon 4, on the reddish balloon. We can just insert it here, or maybe we should just move it here below these set variable blocks. So just before we start the movement, we wait for 1 second. And let's check what this does. And we see the red balloon is delayed by 1 second. So that's easy, but this is not very interesting because each time we start a game, this will always be 1 second. So it's predictable. We don't want that to be predictable because it's a game and it should be fun, of course. So let's fix this. It's easy. We go to operators and this block here, pick random 1 to 10, picks a random number. We just put it here in wait in this rounded field here. And then we have wait, pick random 1 to 10. 10 is a little bit long, 10 seconds. So let's just say 4 seconds, and then we try this. So each time we start the game, it should be 1 to 4 seconds randomly. And here we have it. So this is maybe, it was 4 seconds. Let's try it again. And now we have maybe 3 seconds. Let's do it again. 4 seconds, and let's do it again. So we can also do it from 0 to 4. Okay, so you see, if I do that, then you see that the reset of the position here will always happen after the wait here. So I think we need to move that here. So let's move that, go to X and Y above the wait. So it will immediately reset to this position here and then wait and then glide. So that's better. And there's the balloon. Okay, so we have this waiting mechanism here for the red balloon. We need it also for the other balloons. So I will show you something so that you can copy a block, a complex block like this wait with a random number of seconds to the other balloons. So for that, just extract this here. So we can just separate this and then drag it out. And then this block here can just drag to the other sprites here. So for example, this one, it wiggles a little bit. So then you can drop it here and this way it will be copied. So this block here stays here, but it will also be copied here to this sprite. So here we have it. And now we can just put it here right before the glide and then back to the red balloon. And then we can also drag it here to the second sprite, drop it, and also to the first sprite. And now we need to place it at the right position here. So right before glide, we wait for a random number of seconds. The same for the blue balloon here. Right before glide, we wait for a random number of seconds. Okay, so that's it. So let's try it. And we see the balloons wait for a random number of seconds. Again. And of course the red balloon is not working anymore because we have dragged this out. So just let's put it back here together again. this way the red balloon will also work now. So there's one problem. You might have seen it already. If I start again, you see that all the balloons are waiting to rise here. So that's too easy because the player can just pop it there at the bottom. So we have a little problem here, but it's just easy to fix. So let's see what we have here. So we're setting score to 0 here in our red balloon script. We're setting speed to 1.5 and we go to this initial position here. And then we show it. And after we have shown the balloon, we are waiting. So the problem is that here at this point, the balloon is already shown. And then it waits for, let's say, maximum of 4 seconds. And in this time, the player can see the balloon. So the fix is very easy. Just change the order here. So we need to show the balloon right before this glide here. And this we need to do in each sprite. So we've inserted the wait in the wrong position, or the show is in the wrong position now. So let's correct this. So that's it for the purple balloon. And we do the same for the yellow balloon here and for the blue one also. So the show should be right before we have the glide. So here, that's correct. So let's check again. Show right before the glide. So that should be correct. Okay, so let's try it. And the balloons are not shown before they start moving. So that's nicer now. And I can try to pop the balloons. Yes, yes, no. Yeah, that was a miss. So let's try it again. This time I have the maximum score of 40. Okay, so now we have a nice game and it's quite entertaining, and it's not that easy to hit all the balloons, to pop all the balloons. For example, now I only have 30, and you can also, of course, duplicate here more balloons so that you can have maybe 10 or whatever. And also this delay could be a little bit longer, or this random delay could be maybe 5 seconds, so that it will be easier to pop the balloons or more difficult, as you like. But I think this should conclude our first game. In my opinion, this is quite nice. Or maybe we should get rid of this here. This white position need not to be displayed. Let's one more time. Let's start the game. Already missed one balloon. And now I have also 30 as a score. Okay, so please feel free to play around with it and have fun. And maybe you can improve on the one or the other thing here. Can improve maybe on the game mechanics here a little bit. You can duplicate more balloons so that you can make it more difficult, or the game is longer than if you have more and more delay also. Then the game gets longer, of course. And you can also maybe change the costumes here. So if you don't like this balloon, you can draw your own, or you can import a new costume, upload costume here, and then choose, for example, a PNG, JPEG, or an SVG. Then you can replace this balloon here with your own balloon, or maybe you can also exchange it with the preset costumes here. Okay, so this concludes our first game. Feel free to change it any way you like, show the game to your friends, and have fun with it.